I'm ready to record, but Pri isn't. She's over there.
I'm over it.
Can't hear that.
I'm getting burnt.
Can't hear anything.
You're burning your brain out.
I feel burnt for getting ready to record like this while you're over there. Just, yeah, you're ready now, aren't you?
I guess I am.
Yeah, let's get burnt. We getting burnt up in here. Oh, Bradley Cooper, burnt. Sienna Miller.
Are we good?
You haven't done literally anything.
Are we recording?
Yeah, we're recording.
Are
yeah.
you done with
I'm
your
waiting for
burned-in
you to talk.
shenanigans?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm
Hello,
ready. I have a beer. I have a cold,
the
crispy
fuck?
beer.
God damn
Were you trying to say hello to the listeners?
it. I'm trying to say hello. Okay.
Go on.
I'm going to start
Drink.
again.
Yeah, go on.
Hello.
I'm drinking a beer and
God damn it. Welcome to another episode of the Low Ceiling Pod.
yeah, the fantastic beasts are over. And now we're talking about the
Fantastic Brads.
piece of shit asshole beasts of the kitchen.
Whoa.
Where to find them? At the Langham.
At
Adam Jones at the Langham.
That's right. Go to LA. That's where they're at. Fantastic Chefs starring Bradley Cooper.
This movie sucks. Welcome to the Low Ceiling. I'm Jon.
And I'm Pri.
Okay.
I just want to acknowledge that this is a live action Ratatouille, and we're gonna get into it.
Except Ratatouille is good. I know that I come on the mic, I drop the mic, and I'm like, yo, I make fun of lots of movies and I say goofy things about them, but you know what? Outside of this podcast, I'm a lovely person. And I like a lot of movies. As I think I said in the Internals episode, I want movies to be good.
Yeah.
This movie sucks really bad.
There's a good movie in there. It's too bad we don't get to see it.
I don't think there is a good movie
You
in
don't
there.
think it can be redeemed with some better writing, better editing? Because the acting is
well,
fine.
you can't, the thing is it's not like there's small tweaks that can make this a better movie. It's like you'd have to replace most of the things that are about it.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like, it's so bad on such a it's bad right down to the DNA.
It's
like,
bad too much.
Yeah, and it's so bad on such a granular level.
Yeah.
That down to just like from line to line, you're just kind of like, what? Like I'm constantly flabbergasted at what's happening because I can't keep up with everything annoying and bad that's happening here. Like there are.
You don't want to deal in culinary orgasms?
Well, we are today, but this movie is like, it's so rife with inconsistencies that it just starts to like compound and collapse under its own weight, and it's hard to keep up with how just silly this movie is. And I hate to say it because I think Stephen Knight is not a bad writer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know a lot about John Wells, the director. That's how bad on a moment-to-moment basis this movie is.
Yeah, dude.
Is that I really didn't even have time to think about Stephen Knight or John Wells or anyone really involved. I didn't even think about their careers. I was just like, this movie deserves such strict scrutiny to every moment. Yeah,
and you watched it twice.
And the thing is, too, is like like many movies we've done in the recent past. It's like, if you turned off the sound and the subtitles, you would just be like, fun, neat little kitchen movie.
Yeah.
The direction is probably the best part of it, you know?
Yes.
But just, oh my God, what a frustrating film.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Bradley Cooper's character, Adam Jones' whole aim in this movie is to get a 3rd Michelin star. He's got 1 and 2. Yo, this movie's not even gonna get a 2-star for me.
Yeah, dude.
But Cooper, my guy, you've done some things in your life, questionably. And this one is not among them. I feel like almost all the actors in this movie were like, yeah, we'll take a paycheck. We'll come in, do the hammiest ham acting we've...
An unbelievable cast.
It's a bit like... It's
such
like
a good
they're
cast.
punking the audience a little bit.
I am not a huge fan of Bradley Cooper. Although I'm a huge fan of A Star Is Born, as I tell you 3 or 4 times a day.
Yes, you remind me constantly.
You have something to say about Cooper, but before I'm going to point at you to say that in a second, but I will say that, like, besides Bradley Cooper being whatever, I think Sienna Miller is actually quite good in this movie. She's just weighted down by the shittiness of her character.
Yeah, for sure.
But then Matthew Rhys is also the same. Like, Matthew Rhys has my favorite line in the film, actually.
What is it?
When Cooper has his breakdown and he makes him an omelet, and Cooper is sitting there and he's like, this is good, actually. Matthew Rhys is just like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Matthew Rhys is such a good actor, and this movie sucks. I'm going to say that after every person I say. Alicia Vikander shows up, a perfectly fine actor doing nothing in this film. They don't need future, at this point in her career, Academy Award winner Alicia Vikander.
There's Uma Thurman.
What is
Emma
Emma Thompson, who people like for some reason, is in this movie.
Hey.
And then Daniel Brule is also quite Brule.
Yeah.
I quite like him in this movie too, because he has the second best line in this movie, and it's when he's the only person who tells Bradley Cooper to shove it up his ass when he says, "Make me a fucking cake, you piece of shit."
Nice.
Okay, Bradley Cooper, go. Tell me.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, I was gonna wait for it to just come up randomly, but I'm
making it come up now.
Oh, jeez. You're burnting me right now. That's a very Cooper move.
Apologize to the turbot.
I feel like I'm an idiot sandwich. Bradley Cooper. I have like a political theory.
Tell me.
I think he has like a stealth kind of sneaky theory for men. That it's just that by the characters that he's always playing, he just plays guys who
usually
are so just incredibly, incomparably great at something. Okay, they transcend whatever it is they do. Okay, he's the guy who does something that is so good that it warrants him to have the public open license to just be a piece of shit to everyone else, which he also kind of does in American Sniper, Limitless, Star Is Born, fucking what is the Silver Lining, like everything he does. It's just a little like, I don't know if it can't just be a directorial decision or like they're writing parts that are this guy and they're like, Bradley Cooper, perfect for it.
Yeah. I think that, like, yes, he often plays characters who are
assholes,
exceptionally good at something, and they transcend how shitty of a person they are by doing it. And a movie like this, a weird thing that I sometimes think about is like incredibly talented people, of which I am not one. So someone like Kurt Cobain, right? Kurt Cobain suffered with drug abuse his whole life, and it took his life in many ways. And yet he was one of the biggest pop stars in the world, rock stars, whatever. He's like the biggest person in the world. And lots of really talented people struggle through problems with alcohol and drug abuse, which fundamentally fucks with how you perform in certain ways, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can understand kind of like being an alcoholic and being a musician, because a lot of the time eventually you have to like jump on stage and do it, and it kind of lowers your inhibitions, and you're performing and you're used to it and you're well practiced, and then after the show you get so blackout drunk and stick a fucking red snapper up a person. A real thing that happened.
Oh boy.
You know what I mean though?
Yeah.
Like sometimes it makes me question where I'm like it's so wild that some people are so insanely talented they can transcend incredible personal problems.
Yeah.
And this movie kind of makes that argument, but because of how fine the details need to be and organized you have to be to run a restaurant of this caliber.
Yeah.
I know like 90% of people who work in restaurants have drug problems, but like I just stop believing it in a way.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, in a little bit of a way, it makes me feel like, and I know this is true about sports players too, but it's like, I just don't think you could make a movie about like a basketball star who was also addicted to heroin, because it would really get in the way of playing basketball at some point, like really. And even sports players who have had problems with drug abuse, it eventually starts to wear them down.
Yeah.
And in this movie, he seems to just magically transcend it after getting over his like sobriety in a way. Yeah.
And there's ways to shoot a movie, like film a character like that who does battle with those problems, whether it's drugs or alcohol, and have a very high stress job. And one movie that does a fucking smashing job of it is Boiling Point, which is in the
Yes.
same vein. It's all fucking probably shot in a day or an evening, but the guy, they let you see that he has shortcomings, but they let you see that he's kind of a genius running this whole shop, and he's doing it with a team, so he has to be kind of gregarious, but he has a drug problem.
He's constantly fighting it in that movie, though,
constantly,
right?
like
Because
he's trying to leave, get a smoking, get a little fucking whatever.
Also, though, sorry. Spoilers for the tiny film that no one's seen, Boiling Point, which is a very good movie, and people should really seek it out because it's very good. But the whole time he is drinking vodka out of his water bottle, right?
Yeah.
And you don't really know that, even though I think people, if I recall, kind of hint that he's had alcohol problems.
Yeah.
But you don't really know that he's constantly wasted.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But they make it so. They do it so kind of like cleverly and subtly that you're just kind of like, oh shit, he's fucking doing it right now.
Yeah.
In this movie, he's gone sober, but he's still a fucking asshole.
He's a total asshole.
He's still such a fucking asshole.
Which is like kind of refreshing because then the blame is not on the drug or the alcohol. It's just he's fundamentally
His
a
personal
piece of
problems,
shit.
yeah.
His personality, not great. So he's shitty while drunk. He's shitty sober. He's shitty when he relapses. So what is the fucking point of this guy?
The thing that bothers me so much is that like he's gone sober from his drug and alcohol problems. I want to caveat all of this by saying like I've never suffered from those issues, so I can't speak from a personal kind of whatever, but like I know a little bit about it, and the way it's represented in media can vary, as we are just talking about right now. He's recovered from his problems, right? Even though it follows him around, because like when he re-encounters Daniel Bruhl, he's like, yeah, in 3 days you're gonna be fucking hammered, you're gonna be snorting cocaine, you're gonna be fucking every waitress in the place, and you're gonna fuck everything up, you're gonna ruin it.
Yeah.
And Bradley Cooper is like, no, I just want the star, that's all I want. But he's such an asshole. And so the movie is kind of saying that it's like, well, the drugs and alcohol didn't make him an asshole, so is it the genius that made him an asshole? And this movie seems to be being like, part of the price of genius is you have to be an asshole.
Yeah.
But it doesn't actually really say anything about that. And so you're just kind of like, well, no, you don't, because lots of people aren't. Like, it's not saying anything interesting about what it takes to achieve at a level beyond other people.
Which a lot of like chefs lean into in real life too, right? Like the Gordon Ramsays and the Marcos, and like having popular TV shows where they just rail at the contestants and yell at them and call them slurs and all that shit. They're obviously like Cooper's characters trying to showcase that a little bit.
This movie's heavily inspired by that, I would say.
Yeah.
This movie's very inspired by all the wrong things about restaurant media.
Angry genius
like,
chef.
Yeah, because there's lots of other incredibly famous chefs who are nice people.
Right.
Like they're genuinely seem like good people, and I don't know, maybe that's a character they put on, maybe not. Like I don't know.
But there's no redeeming Bradley Cooper's character in that it's not, you don't want to pity him, you don't like him, you just kind of, he could go, stay or leave. It just doesn't matter, which is such a loss because you kind of want to get behind a guy.
Like a lot of the people come to work for him because they know who this guy Adam Jones is.
Right.
And it seems to be saying that it's like he's so one of a kind. And then to illustrate this, they use the Michelin star system to talk about it. And David, the young man he recruits from the Mexican restaurant, says like the comparison he makes is like 1 Michelin star is Luke Skywalker. 2 is something else, 3 is Yoda.
I'll tell you what he said. 2 is whatever character Alec Guinness played.
Obi-Wan.
How you don't know Alec Guinness but forget
you know Yoda, yeah.
Come on.
But that is 100% a false analogy because as a huge Star Wars nerd,
oh boy,
there is one Yoda. There are many, many 3 Michelin star restaurants in the world, and a lot of them are not run by complete fucking degenerates.
Yeah,
they're run by people who know what they're doing.
Yeah,
like it's just like, and it's such a fucking, it's a movie for it that is for people who know nothing about this at all. I'm not saying they don't know a lot. I'm saying like you have to know nothing about this at all to really believe that this movie is even possible. And I will say too, this movie was put on my radar, and the reason I watched it was David Chang, the chef. He has a podcast, and a long time ago he did an episode where they talked about this movie. So if you want to hear about it from a more culinary perspective, it's actually quite interesting what they talk about. And spoiler alert, they all hated this movie too.
What did he say about it specifically?
I listened to it a while ago, so forgive me, but go listen to it. It is quite interesting.
Cool. Okay.
Anyway, so yeah. fuck this movie. And I want to like talk about, and I want to say, give like a content warning to this next bit, because I'm going to talk kind of about sexual assault here. This movie is a Weinstein Company film.
Boo.
It's hard to watch this and not kind of think about Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, Harvey Weinstein's, they're famously these types of guys. Like
assholes.
They were total crazy assholes, right?
Yeah.
But then they also made these like movies that people love and have loved for a long time or whatever.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it all, they, like Harvey, got the girl too.
I know.
But
like regardless of whether it's by force or whether
and
by
I
manipulation.
think it's hard to not draw this comparison. But at the end, because like I think Harvey probably also believes that it's like, yeah, like ladies just flock to me for my talent and my go-getiveness.
If you throw money at them, they'll come.
Yeah,
which is a little bit what Bradley Cooper's character does when he gets Sienna Miller fired.
I want to talk more about that in the plot, but like one of the most inexplicable things is the fact that Sienna Miller A, comes to work with him, B, sticks around after opening night, and C, kind of falls in love with him. It's really absurd.
You could tell it's just very much written by a dude. Just very much written by Bradley Cooper, who's like had input, be like, yeah, but I get the girl to the end.
I don't even know if it's Bradley Cooper. I don't, and all of my Weinstein stuff, that's all speculation. Like, I don't know if that's true. It's all alleged, but whatever. But like, it's so insane. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Going back to what I said about like the price of genius kind of point was like, it doesn't offer any real thesis on that at all. That's the thing that I think falls so flat.
Yeah.
It's like, so what? You know?
It's also so tropey. It's like stupid and overdone and doesn't offer any merit. And like, who cares?
It's for people who like post on LinkedIn about being the best B2B SaaS marketer in their regional division or whatever. You know, like it is for them who are just like, you know, you just got to sacrifice your entire social life and everything and all this to make your fucking corporate overlord more money.
Thrilled to announce I'm wearing multiple hats this week. Fucking hell. Yeah.
Thrilled to announce that my genius boss screamed at me and made me apologize to a slice of fish, but I get to work with the best in the biz. Yeah.
Hashtag
Anyway.
not burnt yet.
Getting burnt.
Oy.
You want to talk about the plot?
Yeah, just that this whole fucking ridiculous system that like orbits around this fucking asshole. This one strange man who somehow is trying to be sincere and redeem himself, but none of that comes across.
He's not trying hard.
He's not trying hard. He's just like, I said I'm trying, and then he doesn't.
Yeah.
Cool.
He's also he's every fucking bad trope in the book. He's like manipulative. He's a black hole, really.
All right, let's do the plot.
Adam Jones, played by Bradley Cooper, is in New Orleans. He's trying to shuck 1 million oysters as penance for the fact that he used to work at a restaurant, like a legendary Paris restaurant, that he got shut down basically because of his fucking assholery and his addiction issues. He used to work with a guy, Jean-Luc, and worked with some other characters who will pop up: Michelle, Reese, Conti, and Daniel Bruhl.
All of them at the same restaurant.
All of them kind of at the same place. Like it's like they all worked at the Ratatouille restaurant. And you're kind of like, man, I want to see the prequel to this because I don't want to watch this movie.
And it's this, yeah.
So he's in New Orleans, which is an incredibly weird place to choose to not drink and get drunk because it's like the drunkest place on earth.
Come on, up is down, as we've learned.
Not to get off track immediately. You know what this movie kind of reminds me of? The long debunked autobiography, A Million Little Pieces. Did you ever read A Million Little Pieces?
Yeah.
Does anyone remember the A Million Little Pieces saga? Do you remember it?
No.
Well, it's fake, right? So do you remember Oprah put it on her O list and then brought the guy back on to yell at him for faking everything, right?
Yes.
So I read that book, and that book as a work of fiction is like an interesting book. I think it's an interesting look at getting sober and what it's like. His like self-aggrandizing nature reminds me a lot of this. Kind of the way that he's like I'm paying penance, and yet still walks out on his fucking job in New
Of course.
Orleans without saying a goddamn thing. It's like, that's still kind of a dick move.
100%.
Like
100%. He's the eat, pray, loving his own fucking quote unquote penance.
Yeah.
You're totally right.
There's a scene, I'm never going to get to talk about this again, but there's a scene in A Million Little Pieces that I absolutely love where, well, I don't love it, but I think it's so funny because one of the things is like he's addicted to opiates, right?
Yeah.
This is going to be a huge tangent. I really want to go on it though. He's addicted to opiates and he needs dental work. He needs to get teeth pulled, right? And he goes to the dentist and they're like, well, we can't give you opiates because you'll die or some shit.
Yeah.
You've been so fucked up, you'll die. So but we have to take these teeth out because they're like infecting your entire face. And he's like, ooh, okay. So he can't get painkillers. So they got to take it out. They got to raw dog his mouth, basically, right? And they so these dentists, there's this like blood curdling scene where they rip this guy's teeth out and stuff. And then if I remember correctly in the book, he was like, the dentists were like, that was too intense for dentistry. Like they were like, I did not have fun doing that. Yeah. And the guy in the book, he was like this is during this surgery. He's just like, he just finishes the surgery and he's like, you know what? You did what you had to do.
He talks?
He tells them, like in the book,
God.
he basically says, he's like, you did what you had to do and I respect you for it. And I was like, I don't believe that.
No.
I don't believe that he wasn't like, ow, my fucking mouth hurts so bad that I want to die.
Yeah,
and
come on.
Anyway, that's my little tangent on A Million Little Pieces. Go read it. We could cover the movie because it's not good either.
Oh, perfect.
But the cool thing about it is it's directed by the 50 Shades of Grey lady and starring her young hubby, the new James Bond, Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so, all right, upcoming.
Okay, next part.
Yeah.
Burnt too.
So, Adam, the forever being like, I'm just looking for penance. Anyway, I'm going to quit my fucking job.
Ugh.
Leaves his job in New Orleans and walks to London, I guess, with the minimum wage that he made. He goes back to London after he shucks the million oysters, and he's like, my sole purpose in life for some reason is to get a 3rd Michelin star, which again is like, it's pretty insane for a middle-aged man for that to be the thing that they want.
But also he makes it seem like having 2 Michelin stars is just like an easy thing, or I've got 2, but whatever. The 3rd one, it's like, bro, you got freaking 2 Olympic gold medals.
As you know, and the listeners might, like, I am a big foodie. We've been to Michelin star places before.
Hell yeah.
Do you know the kind of like general classification of what the stars mean?
No.
I think I've told you before.
Not what the difference between 2 and 3 is.
Okay. So in the guide, I believe, I don't quote me on this, but I think 1 star means like really good food.
Yeah.
Go there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, try it. It's really good food. We highly recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
2 stars means like excellent food.
Yeah.
This is worth going to for sure.
Yeah.
We give it a very, very strong recommendation. 3 stars means you should build your entire itinerary around going to this restaurant.
Right. Okay. Which is the whole Michelin tires thing.
Yeah. It's exactly because they're Michelin tires. They were like, you should go out of your way to make a trip specially to go here.
Okay. I thought it was more of a consistency thing. Like if you taste it here once, the next time it'll taste exactly the same.
No, but it is based on consistency, right? Because they go multiple times to places. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. That's another problem that comes up later.
Really?
But yes, you're right. He's acting like 2 stars is like he's serving donkey shit on a plate.
Totally. Come on, guy.
Because the thing that's confused me for fucking ever about this film is that he goes and he's like, I'm going to take over your restaurant. But I'm like, does the restaurant already have 2 stars or doesn't it? And then he goes and he's basically like, this place is a pile of garbage and I'm going to make it a 3 Michelin star restaurant. But then I was like, but don't you have 2 stars, bro? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
I don't
what do
get
you...
it.
No,
Doesn't Daniel Brühl have 2 stars already? I'm like, I don't know.
I think wherever he's from, he personally as a chef has 2 stars. So whatever restaurant he goes to,
he's
he
a
can
2-star.
extend it.
No.
Oh.
So I have been to the sister restaurant of one of the best restaurants in the world called Francescata 57 in Modena, right? Not a Michelin-starred restaurant. Osteria Francescana is a very famous restaurant in Italy, in the world, basically. There's a Netflix episode, Chef's Table episode about him. He's great.
That's right.
He's cool. I saw him in person. I was like a meter away from him.
What a sweetie.
Speaking of fucking people who aren't psychopaths who run restaurants, he's a lovely man.
That guy.
And I went to one of his restaurants. I couldn't get into the other one because I'm not fucking rich. But Francis got a 57 is like unbelievable. It's so good. And it's not just because he owns it. It's not a starred restaurant.
Oh, but
It's
he's
still-
a
still
starred
has-
chef.
Yes, it
but the
still has
restaurant
to
is not.
compete
Got it.
if they want to, if they want to. And people will, like, inspectors will probably go there because they're like, well, fucking this guy
recommended
who
it.
makes the best food in the world, his other restaurant might be good. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Inexplicably, Bradley Cooper's character meets a lesbian when he goes to London. Uma Thurman's character.
Oh, he knows her.
He knows her.
Yeah.
Right? So he goes and he's like, that's a fucking... I just want to come back to the bad writing because when Uma Thurman's character, who is very gay, says, even though I am a lesbian, I slept with you.
Speaking of the male fantasy
because
thing.
you're so fucking cool. And then Daniel Bruhl's character is gay and he's like, oh, you think you could fall in love with me? Bradley Cooper, shut the fuck up.
Exactly. When you said, you were like, you can tell this was written by a man. This is like the male the kind of like macho fantasy thing that another producer might be like, hey, maybe tone it the fuck down.
Yeah, but not this
the
guy.
Weinsteins might have just been like,
cool
that's
guys.
how I feel.
They're like, yeah, I get that all the time.
That's always happened to me.
Don't worry about it. Don't ask anyone, but don't worry about
I've
it.
had sex with many ladies. Yeah.
It is. It's just nobody would watch this now and be like, oh yeah, like, because at least the food is good. Even the food isn't that good. Even the food looks plain and schmeh.
Something that they talk about in the David Chang episode is that like the food is irrelevant.
Plain.
Like it's like Michelin starred stuff from like the early aughts.
Yeah,
even
dude.
and like they're like nobody really this is a 2015 film. They're like nobody
Wild.
really fucking cooks like this anymore.
And it's so cringe. It's such a cringe watch.
It is like it's very like delicate and kind of like beautiful and stuff.
Yeah.
So we went to a place recently that it wasn't as like kind of refined as this, and it was Michelin starred, and it was like, no, this is just kind of like
it's just pasta.
Good shit. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, so
they try to address it a little bit. They try to be like, oh, Bradley Cooper's character is like kind of old school because he wants to make an escargot thing.
But there's another problem with that, though. There's another problem with when that comes up. We have to move in the plot because like there's all these things that.
Okay, let's do it.
This is the thing that is so infuriating about the film is that every time you think of a thing, it continuously makes it complexifies everything, and you're just like, oh yeah, that fucking thing is stupid. Okay, so before Uma Thurman comes along, he goes to London. He meets Daniel Bruhl, and he's like, I'm going to take over your he tells him this. He's like, I'm going to take over your restaurant and turn it into a 3-star restaurant. Daniel Bruhl, quite rightly, is like, fuck you, I hate you, you'll ruin everything.
Yeah.
And then Adam Jones, this is where Uma Thurman comes in. He has to convince him somehow, and he does, and we'll get to that. But there's a scene where he talks to Daniel Bruhl about the restaurant. He's like, the place is only 2 stars. It's a piece of shit. It's a piece of literal garbage in London or whatever.
Yeah.
But he says this thing that is so blindingly stupid within the scene. He's like, if your father didn't own this place, you would have been fired a long time ago. 10 seconds later, he tells him he is the best maitre d' in Europe.
Come on.
And I was like, so would he be fired, or is he the best maitre d' in Europe?
I think he's definitely leaning into his whole manipulativeness, right? He like Bradley Cooper's an asshole who comes in, doesn't ask for favors, basically takes it through manipulation. The whole point of him bringing in Uma Thurman into Daniel Bruhl's restaurant
is to manipulate
as
him,
a favor. Is like, listen, if you don't let me cook for her, she's gonna write a terrible review, and then you're gonna get shut down. Yeah. So the whole thing is
that's
not
how
even
he slides himself in the door
into the door.
He puts his foot in as the door is slamming shut.
Yeah, and this is him having been sober for 3 years.
It's so cruel.
Yeah, because he's to his bone a fucking dick.
Also, like Daniel Bruhl's character, it's kind of like, motherfucker, can't I just run a restaurant?
Yeah.
Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm doing okay. We can serve fish and chips and fuck yourself. Like, whatever.
Wild.
Then he goes to meet Conti, who runs another restaurant, and he's impressed by Helene, the sous chef, who he immediately wants to like hire for his restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And Conti inexplicably is like, yeah, I would love to give up my best staff member just for nothing. Like, he's like, this is a great idea, Adam. I should give you my best staff member. The thing that's so wild is that there's actually, when you really break it down, which we're going to, there's so many people just lining up to help this guy.
That's what I'm saying.
He has this insane support system that he just takes advantage of.
Because it's written in a way that
Yeah.
it's like, this guy transcends reason. You want to suck his dick bending over backwards. That's how great he is for some inexplicable reason.
This is the thing we talked about last time with like the wealthy people being like, well, I worked hard for everything I have. It's like, I mean, yeah, I inherited $50 million, but like everything else, like the other $50 million, I worked really hard for that.
Self-made millionaire Kylie Jenner can attest to this.
It is kind of that belief though, right? It is a little bit like this is kind of like, well, you also, for this guy, for example, it's kind of, well, you had fucking everything kind of given to you.
He had a pretty penny starting off. Bro.
Yeah. He had this like support network to help him. So then he likes Helene. He loves her cacio e pepe, which sure, that sounds great. Maybe that toast the pepper kernels before you grind them is a really cool idea.
I've seen better at Trader Joe's, bro. I don't know what.
However, when he's like, put some chopped sage in it, I was like, ew. That's gross. Cacio e pepe is just like cheese and fucking pepper.
Yeah.
Rules. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
If you make a good one. It's kind of like weirdly hard to make, even though it's like 4 ingredients.
I want some.
Yeah, we'll go find a place. There's probably a good place here that makes it.
Oddly, when we talk about movies that are about food or watch TV shows about food, like I want to eat it while I watch it. This movie, man, I just couldn't.
There's too much else going on.
Too much rage inside of me to be like, why is he doing the things?
You know why though? Unlike Boiling Point in a way.
Yeah.
The Bear, obviously the best probably food
Classic.
thing ever. And the fucking incredible chef. At the center of them is still a joy for cooking.
100%.
This movie could honestly be written about kind of like any sort of creative work.
Yeah.
The cooking just feels like that's one of the things. It's interesting. That's such a good point, actually, that you bring it up because like this movie feels kind of like devoid of actually liking cooking.
There's no joy in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess that is the whole point. Maybe it's very like Shakespearean in the way that it's not about life or itself. It's just about suffering.
Fuck Shakespeare.
Like they're calling it burnt because it's not about the food. It's about his soul and whatever.
You know what I have to say to Shakespeare? Who I've always wanted to ask.
Hey, make up a real word.
Yeah. How many Michelin stars does Shakespeare have? You know?
At least one.
You think so?
I think he must have made up that word.
No. French didn't even exist back then.
Oh, God damn it. That's right.
They didn't even have tires in his day. Everyone got to the Globe Theater by walking.
Damn, Will.
Hauling their rotten tomatoes to throw at the people.
Shakespeare, one star.
I'm a historian at heart. So he meets Michelle, his former colleague, who he sabotaged. They get in a fist fight. Then they're like, hey, you want to work together again? And Michelle is like, definitely. I definitely want to work with you, Adam. I love working with you so much.
Yeah.
I'm fucking ridiculous.
It's so cool how bad this movie is. It's full of cool guys and cool girls and cool restaurants, and it's just fucking bad, dude. It's
again,
bad film.
That's the thing. It's like if you turn off the sound and the subtitles, you're just kind of like, this looks sick. Great cast.
Good.
There's like a lot of the supporting cast is fantastic. The main cast is wonderful.
Yeah.
It's well directed. John Wells, listen, I know that me and you, we have had a falling out recently in years.
John.
You said that thing about my son that I just couldn't get over.
Oh, jeez.
But like, I respect you for directing this movie, but you must have been directing it with like earplugs in because like,
oh my God.
yeah. Anyway, so it's good. And then like Adam's former drug dealers are still stalking him, being like, you owe us a bunch. Oh, sorry. They're French. So they're like, oi mate, you owe us a bunch of money.
God
yeah.
damn.
And then Adam is still like, he's like latched on to Daniel Brühl and he's like, I have to take over your restaurant. So he gets Uma Thurman, a notable critic, to be like, to come eat. And he says, basically to manipulate Daniel, he says, she'll shut down the restaurant if you don't cook something good. So you have to let me cook for her.
Yeah.
And I will cook it. Now, big problem with this scene. Most Michelin star restaurants prep everything to a wide degree in advance.
Yes, of course.
This motherfucker just shows up and makes like a world-class incredible meal. Like, he's a chef, I get it. They have that talent.
Yeah.
But the fact that he just shows up and makes like that level of meal, did she sit there for 4 hours waiting for him?
He also just did something off menu. Maybe he didn't really.
Right, I know, but like
he was like, don't serve her any of that shit. Like, I'm going to make something brand new.
But there's so many things in like really, really fancy creative restaurants that it's like, this thing took like 4 days to make, you know? And,
oh my God.
And they use that. Remember, at one of the places we went to, we sat and watched The Kitchen.
Yeah.
which I thought was going to be a much longer bar, but it was just the two. We were like the guests of honor at this fucking
It was
place.
so cool.
It was
I'll never
dope.
forget it.
And you get to watch these guys cook.
Yeah.
But really a lot of what they're doing is like one guy is cooking a langoustine, another guy is cooking a piece of meat, and then everything is already made, and then they put it all together on a plate, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of like, it's not like they're like chopping onions and then making everything from scratch. Everything is like kind of ready.
100%.
You know?
Which even aside from a Michelin kitchen, like any kitchen does that. They have stuff prepped.
Oh, fucking White Spot does
White
it. Like
Spot does it,
That's what a prep fucking cook does. That's why they come in at 8 a.m. and then they do the prep cook, and some of them leave. Anyway, so he makes an incredible fucking meal, and Simone is just like, oh man, that meal and that dick was so good, but I'm a lesbian. What can I do?
My greatest regret is sleeping with Bradley Cooper. No.
Yeah, I agree. Uma Thurman, gone from the film.
No.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
37 seconds, and she's never to be seen again.
Yeah. Daniel Brühl, against all of his better judgment, hires, after this one-off manipulation, is like, all right, I'll hire you. You can take over my entire restaurant and change everything. But you have to go see a therapist and get these like blood draws taken from Emma Thompson. Do you like Emma Thompson?
I can't. It's like if you like musicals and that sort of thing, you'd be into it.
Well, I think she's more in like the James Ivory vein of things, like the stuffy British stuff.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like lots of people, like she's like legendary, and
you can't like even in Harry Potter. I'm like, Professor Trelawney, cool down. Like
right, yeah,
she's the reading tea leaves lady.
And then so like Adam goes around to try and recruit all these people. Yeah. He recruits David, the chef from this Mexican restaurant, and then he becomes the fucking whipping boy of the kitchen and doesn't really get his due.
Come on.
And then he gets Max from prison, the Italian guy, another good actor who I quite like. When Max is in prison, he's just got a book.
He's cookbook.
It's called I looked it up. It's called What's a Chef to Do, or What's a Cook to Do.
Right.
But it's like a book about cooking techniques.
Okay.
And I was like, so did he have that on him when he went into jail?
Possibly.
And like, if so, is he just in there being like, I gotta figure out my dice. Like I gotta work on my fucking chinois.
Hey,
like
maybe they have books in jail, and also he could have been in charge of cooking in there. Maybe that was his whole thing. Which
he was like in overnight jail for getting in a fight. He wasn't in prison.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay, that's. He got in fight holding a book the whole time.
It's like
fucking nerd punch.
It's like if in Oppenheimer, like Einstein turned around and had like Calculus 201 in his hands. Like it's so dumb. Like
it's very not another teen movie.
It's also like this dude just. I don't know, like a chef coming to work being like, yeah, brought my cookbook today.
Oh, good.
Like,
yeah.
Super.
That's like one of the. This movie is so cartoonishly masculine. That like even softer moments between a man and a woman, or between another couple, or a small child and a professional angry chef, still come off infuriating. Like there's not one moment where I'm like, oh, that was tender. Oh, that was sweet to me. No, it's enragingly.
It's always canceled out. Yeah.
If America was a movie, it would be it would be burnt, dude. It's like the way Bradley Cooper carries himself with just total confidence, regardless of like delivering it skillfully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So dude, I agree.
Simply
so
cannot.
He recruits Max, and then he gives one last foray trying to get Helene from this other restaurant. This scene where they're in Burger King is so strange. First off, let's just talk about the kind of like weird dynamic in this scene.
Oh yeah.
Helene shows up and sees Bradley Cooper sitting there, and she's like, "Is this a joke? Asking me to meet in a Burger King?" And it's like, "No, he's right there. It is not a joke.
Yeah.
He asked you to meet him there. He's there.
It's not a phone call.
Yeah.
You should have asked it then.
What would the joke be? He's right there. Yeah. And then the thing that drives me insane is Bradley Cooper's character, Adam Jones. He is such a fucking, like, he berates everyone for their snobbery and is such a snob. He berates Helen in this scene for being like, oh, like working class people who make these burgers and the consistency and blah, blah, blah. And then but it's like, dude, you have no moral or ethical leg to stand on. You are such a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
And he does it all the time.
Yes.
And yet he's such a fucking snob. Because later, when Emma Thompson makes a joke, she's like, I do a group therapy session. You can make the sandwiches. He's like, I don't make sandwiches. And it's like, yeah, you probably could if you wanted to. You are a chef, you fucking asshole.
Oh, God.
He's almost like a couple of stupid podcasters talking about movies that they could never even hope to make. It's like that bad.
Yeah, but imagine giving these podcasters money. Unstoppable amount of chaos.
Bradley Cooper, give us money.
The Bradley
That was my
Coopers
message
of
the entire
podcast
time.
world.
You know what's? It's really interesting because do you know who Ira Glass is? Speaking of podcasters. I'm joking. I know you know who Ira Glass is.
I know, but like for a second, I was like, "Is this? Yeah, are you gonna burn to me right now?"
I think Ira Glass would be a better casting in this film. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, a very dulcet tones.
Something that Ira Glass told me personally. Something that he said that I always found super interesting is like anyone who does a creative pursuit in any way.
Yeah.
Typically always has like good taste. Like not always, but they have good taste. And then eventually like people who don't end up doing it professionally, their level of skill never reaches their level of taste, you know? Mm-hmm. And then people who end up doing things like that professionally kind of like they can meet or surpass their high standards of taste, which I always found it's such a fascinating thing. And like,
very nice.
That is like, this guy is like that personification, but it's in such a dickhole-ish way.
Yeah. At
the end of the day, and this comes back to what you brought up about the complete void of feeling for food, is like, at the end of the day, chefs just love to eat. You know, if you read anything by like Anthony Bourdain or you watch Chef or you watch Ratatouille, it's just like, at the end of the day, it all comes back to the love of just like food. And that's what makes it have actual feeling and heart instead of being this cold piece of monstrosity that you're like, no.
What the fuck does he want?
Go back in Newt Scamander's suitcase,
Jesus
you fuck. Yeah.
His like frenemy played by Matthew Rhys, who got a 3-star Michelin credit in the movie, right?
Yes. He has surpassed him.
Also a diva, kind of. He bosses around the guy who owns the restaurant because he's the head chef, so he'll walk around smashing tables.
He trashes this guy's fucking entire restaurant.
Whole place. But then they kind of show that both of these guys, Matthew Rhys and Bradley Cooper, have the same level of skill or genius.
Yeah.
But then Bradley Cooper fell into drugs. And so he couldn't quite get there before Matthew Rhys did. My whole thing is that they make Bradley Cooper seem like such an irredeemable asshole that I have more sympathy in my heart for Matthew Rhys, even though he's a diva, even though he's like an asshole to his staff, even though he breaks shit all the time. He's also sober, so he doesn't even have like a reason to be altered, have his brain chemistry altered or anything. But like, it's so interesting that the lead actor is so much more unlikable than his arch nemesis, who has the same characteristics.
I think that I think the comparison that they very vaguely point at is the fact that Bradley Cooper, because of his addiction problems and his upbringing, which they kind of talk about, is like he doesn't truly believe he deserves it. But Matthew Rhys does believe he deserves it.
Yeah.
As pointed out by my favorite line in the film, when Bradley Cooper says, he's like, this omelet is actually good. He's like, I know it's good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a professional
I'm a 3-star
chef.
Michelin
I know how to
chef.
make a goddamn omelet.
Yeah.
Which is funny. Omelets come up a lot because they come up in
The Bear.
too.
Yeah.
Right? And you're just like, yeah, of course,
Because they're fucking hard to make.
Someone of that skill level. Well, it is. It's one of those things that
foundational things.
Yeah. Like they're easy to make, hard to make perfectly, kind of thing, right? And that's it's like if you've ever watched, there's a fucking great YouTube video of Gordon Ramsay making scrambled eggs, which is like a famous video,
perfect.
right? And he always says that he's like, we always ask people to make this when they come to the restaurant because it's like it's easy to do, it's hard to do well, and there's a specific way we would want it done. Then omelet's kind of like that. But yeah, Matthew Rhys is like, yeah, I know it's good. I'm a really good chef. You know, like,
and it makes it seem like, oh, if Bradley Cooper hadn't gone away for 3 years to rehab or whatever, then he could have had the 3 stars. That fucking probably couldn't have, man.
Well, no, in that scene, we are skipping ahead a bit. There's an inherent contradiction in that scene that really bothers me, though. should I say it now or should we get to it?
We
Like,
can get to it slowly. Yeah.
there's a thing. So keep that in mind. That like
Okay.
he's saying like the idea that Bradley Cooper could have gotten there,
Right.
because I don't think that the acknowledgement isn't that they are equal in skill.
Yeah.
It is that Adam Jones is better. His
Yes.
career was derailed by drugs and alcohol.
Right.
However, there's this inherent contradiction that I'm going to get to. Ooh, teaser.
Ooh.
That's something Ira Glass taught me.
Anticipation.
After this ad for NPR, you'll hear what I say. Yeah.
I'm
just
Ira
kidding.
Glass.
Man, this plot. So opening night happens. It's a fucking disaster.
Yes.
Which is insane because he hires Helene. She finally joins him. Well, Conti fires her. And then she joins Adam Jones. Then later he fires her from the same job
Oh my
because
God.
he fucked up opening night and he's such an asshole. The second time I watched this movie, he loses his mind to such an extent
Yeah.
that it's funny.
It's comical.
It
is hilarious.
It's so absurd
Yeah.
that it's like it's so funny. It's so great. And there's another scene later which I want to talk about where he does the same.
Oh my God.
And
So
yeah.
leading up to it, he manipulates Conti to be like, "Yo, fire your lady Helene so I can take her into my restaurant."
The idea that they're getting at, which you've as a viewer you're already like, I don't believe it,
Yeah.
is that working for such a genius is such a great opportunity that you should. It's not unlike what I compared this movie to unfavorably, Whiplash, where
Okay, yeah.
we're
Yeah.
playing in the studio band for the psychopathic fucking guy is such a great opportunity that it's worth going through all this abuse. Right?
Trauma. Yes.
Conti says the same thing, basically. Conti is indicating that it's like, you want to work for this guy because he's the best of the best of the best.
You were hinting at the money part of it earlier when Bradley Cooper hires her for 3 times her pay.
He triples her salary. Keep that in
Okay.
mind because we'll get to it.
Okay.
Opening night is a complete disaster. He's like, I'm going to shut the place down and we're going to revamp and we're going to redo this stuff. Helene walks out on him. Now, before we get to the money part, I want to talk a little bit about something that actually offends me a little about this film. And as a total feminist ally, I want to talk about the shitty pseudo-feminism thing that's happening with Helene's character.
Yeah.
They play this thing like she's this hardcore kind of like tough chef who doesn't take any shit. When Adam Jones has his freak out on that opening night, she's the only person who really stands up to him.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my God, could you believe that a lady of all people,
Not a lady,
babe, an actual lady, not only just any lady, she's a hot lady.
Stop it.
And she has a kid to feed.
No.
And she stands up to him because he's such a big jerk. But
snaps.
the thing is that they make her out to be this, like they do this kind of like pseudo-feminist fucking male-written bullshit.
Yes.
When really it's kind of like anyone with any self-respect would leave and never come back.
Hey,
'Cause
even
fuck that guy.
if they stand up for it, which a lot of people probably do, right? They won't take shit lying down if you're going to yell at them in a professional environment. What's wilder is that he reaches for her collar, grabs her shirt and shoves her. This guy's sober.
In the post, yeah, this guy has not been drinking. In the post Me Too environment, this is
Bro.
such a fucked up movie, like in that way, you know.
It's fucking sick and stupid.
Now that I've said that, like there's many publications online, you can hire me to write op-eds about how men are bad and stuff. So yeah.
Hashtag men are bad.
Hashtag all men.
Hashtag all men.
Hashtag all men.
For sure.
All
Especially
podcasts.
this guy.
All Ira Glass. Later, Tony, Daniel Brula's character, I've been calling him Daniel Brula this whole time because I forgot his name is Tony. Tony comes back and he says, Helene, look, he didn't have a great childhood, which is a totally great excuse for him to behave this way.
Who cares?
And then he says something so absurd that it's worth doing the math over, where he's like, I will double your salary. And she's like, he already tripled it. And he's like, well, then I'll do it. Okay. So let's do some math. Earlier in the film, Helene is like, I'm a minimum wage worker.
Yes.
In the Burger King scene.
Yeah.
Minimum wage in the UK in 2015, how much do you think it was?
10 quid.
10 quid? You're out of your goddamn mind. It was 6 quid 70.
Fuck. Okay.
Okay. And now so the pound is about 1.6 times the Canadian dollar.
Okay.
Keep that in mind. But I have the numbers.
But
Don't
more
worry.
importantly, it's 100 rupees. So
It's a million bajillion rupees.
that's just 100.
So, okay. So 6.70 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I just got to...
So originally $6.78,
Okay.
which Bradley Cooper triples.
So times 3 of that, and then times 2 is roughly 40 pounds an hour.
Cool.
40 pounds. That comes out to, assuming that she is working 40 hours a week for 52 weeks a year, she is making 87,000 pounds a year.
Yeah.
How much is that in Canadian? Well, I have the numbers actually. It's $137,000 a year.
But if you're working at a 2 Michelin.
Okay. Then if you don't accept that, can I ask you a question here? What do you think? Who do you think makes a higher wage on average now in 2023?
Okay.
$87,000, Helen, who works at this restaurant,
Yeah.
or a marketing director at a company on average? Who do you think makes a higher wage?
A director level?
Director.
Director should be getting like 110.
You'd think so, right? But they don't. They make less. What about...
she makes more than...
What about a specialist medical practitioner?
No.
So, like, someone who runs a special medical...
Like an x-ray machine?
Yeah, sure. Anything. Dentist, whatever.
They should get
This
at
is
least
the UK,
£90,000.
Well, you would be surprised, but they make less. What about an aircraft pilot?
Stop it.
On average.
Don't tell me a chef makes more than an aircraft pilot.
No.
But
babe,
like in this
is
world.
The inherent ridiculousness is
In this
Helen.
universe.
I'm talking about Helen, not
In
any
this-
chef.
Yeah. How much?
It's Helen makes more than an aircraft
That's
pilot.
wild.
What about a judge? Judge
All right.
famously takes years to become a judge. I don't know how it works in the UK, but in Canada it takes fucking forever to become a judge.
That's not a good look. Judges don't even make $40 an hour, dude. That is shocking to me. That's a systemic problem.
Keep in mind, this is just an average, right?
Yeah.
Helen makes above the average for
Yeah.
a judge too.
What I'm saying is, like, if you have an MBA, name drop, you could
Humble
straight out of
brag.
college be making 70,000 pounds.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. And so she's already making 83,000.
87,000. Can I say?
Yes, excellent.
I looked up like what the highest on average paying jobs in the UK are. This is 2023. This is 8 years after she would be making $87,000 a year.
Yeah.
Pounds a year. She makes higher than every job on the list.
Oh my God.
That is like patently absurd. Yeah.
Not even for 3 Michelin, guys. It's not possible.
If anyone thinks my math is wrong, fine.
Take it up with Bradley Cooper.
Yeah,
He shucked a
take it-
million
yeah.
oysters.
Don't talk to me. Talk to the guy who fucking created Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. All right. Fuck that.
Because that guy can do math.
So the now wealthiest person working at this fucking entire hotel and restaurant, probably combined,
so funny to me.
returns because she's like, well, yeah, I make more than anyone in the country. I think I'll come back. So she returns to her job, and she's like, we have to modernize the menu.
Yeah.
And she brings him, this is the so annoying thing. Keep this in mind. She brings him a sous vide machine, which he's been very snobby about earlier.
Come on.
And she has to explain it to him.
That's just
He's
bonkers.
a fucking chef. And she's like, this is a sous vide machine and it does this. And it's like, dude, the guy knows. And I understand, yes, that's for the audience to understand.
Yeah,
I get it,
yeah,
but it's so stupid.
Yeah.
And it'll come back later. I'll tell you why. We gotta fucking move this shit. So they make the restaurant better. I don't know, whatever.
Well,
And-
because he's so patently against anything not being fresh. Like, food cannot be in little plastic baggies. How do I boil it? And that's the whole point that they keep trying to make, and why he's being so difficult with technology.
Sous vide machines have been like, they're like the epitome of modernization, and they talk about it like the part of the conflict in this film, besides Adam Jones is a fucking asshole to everyone who exists on the earth, is that like the change between like traditional French cuisine and modernist cuisine, right? Like Reese's restaurant is like totally a
super modern
place or whatever.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to, and Adam Jones doesn't want to.
He doesn't want to change. Yeah,
whatever. Then they get their shit together. Adam Jones is kind of less of a dick, and even though he turns down Helene, wants to have a birthday party for her kid, and he's like, no, because I'm an asshole, you gotta stay. And then Helene brings her child to the place, and he makes a birthday cake, and then
wild.
The only moment of catharsis in the entire film is when Daniel Brûlé is like, make a fucking birthday cake, you huge fucking asshole, basically.
Yo, all unbelievable. All of this unbelievable, because when a single mother asks for a single day off, afternoon off, for her 8-year-old's birthday. He says, the problem with being, so good at your job is that you're indispensable.
Not even dinner service. It's lunch service.
Lunch service. Yeah. He's like, I'm sorry, you got to come to work. Everybody makes a little frowny face when they're cooking the next day because they're
all pissed off.
So you're telling me she brings her child into this Michelin restaurant who's taking up a table at lunch service, but she's not going to order anything.
and yet again, he makes an entire cake for her.
Yeah.
Which is a lovely gesture, but then Helene is kind of like, everything's forgiven. And it's like, what the fuck?
Why?
Why?
Who
you should
cares?
still be annoyed because you are still sitting in the back cooking his fucking food.
You didn't even get to come eat the cake with your kid, bro.
Asshole.
Just absurd.
All right.
Absurd.
They go off to Reese is reopening his restaurant because he's all stupidly really annoyed that Adam has good like press coverage or whatever.
Because they're both divas.
Yeah. So he's like reopening his restaurant, and then he brings Helene to the party, and they chat, and then they run into Alicia Vikander, who's Jean-Luc's daughter, who he used to date, and it's claimed he one time knocked up, I believe. And she tells him that Jean-Luc passed away. He was in a drug-induced stupor or whatever. Who fucking cares what he was doing? He's shucking his 500,000th oyster. Fuck.
He finds out pretty early from one of the guys that Jean-Luc has passed away.
Oh, and he missed the funeral.
Yeah.
Vikander tells him he missed the funeral,
right,
and gives him the knives.
The knives, her dad's knives.
Yeah, she forgives him for abandoning her or whatever. Who cares?
So everyone's just fucking, like so loving and tender and kind to this fucking piece of shit asshole.
This huge piece of shit lives in the nicest version of our world ever.
Yeah, why?
Yeah.
Even the thugs are nice.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. So later he goes to this fish market with Helene, and then they kiss, and then they're like falling in love, and it's like, don't, you just save yourself, girl.
Don't.
Like,
what are you doing?
Tell this guy to
choices.
fuck off, man. And then comes the Michelin guys are there at the restaurant. It's like, oh shit,
dun,
the Michelin
dun.
dudes. They explain the like Michelin star thing, which like is for the benefit of the viewer, I get. I don't believe it at all. Like, no. I don't believe that's real. I really don't.
No.
None of it it's too absurd to strike me as like real.
Yeah. And why would they disclose that they're from Michelin's?
They don't, right?
Yeah.
They don't, but like he was saying there's like certain tells, and they do the same thing to have a consistent experience and stuff. And like maybe restaurant insiders know this and I don't, but like the stuff that they do, I'm just kind of like, Michelin is surprisingly like one of the better kept secrets of like who does what and stuff. And I don't know. I just find it, I'm like, I just don't believe that it's so easy to tell that this like front of house lady who's probably like fucking half cut the whole time is like, hey, the Michelin guys are here. She's Irish, actually.
Because these table of two guys said we would like tap water and half a bottle of wine. And that is supposed to be the tell that they're from Michelin.
Yeah, and one guy waits at the bar, and his friend joins him half an hour later, and they drop a fork and stuff. It's weird that it's like they explain this thing.
It's so unnecessary.
It's so specific, but then it just happens to be two random dudes who do it.
Yeah.
That you're like, they did literally everything you just said. That's really insane.
The fork is on the floor?
It turns out Daniel Brühl is just like a fucking oracle.
Bro, stop.
So they do the cooking the best, and then they try to do it, and then one of the guys sends the dish back. He's like, it's too spicy. And then Michelle is like, fuck you. I put cayenne pepper in the sauce.
This is for revenge.
Paris. And there's a big problem because at this point in the film, I was like, fuck yeah, Michelle.
Yeah, get it, Michelle.
And you shouldn't feel that way about your protagonist.
No.
You shouldn't be like, I want you to fucking fail.
But unless you're in a Weinstein film, in which case, yes. Yeah. Good God, yes.
So then Bradley Cooper goes off the wagon, gets drunk.
Yeah.
He goes to Reese's restaurant, has his freak out, which is the other freak out I talked about. This scene is like a Tim Robinson sketch. It's so absurd.
It's rough. It's rough.
So bizarre. Yeah.
I had a moment of like, just a quick moment of sadness for him, just to see Bradley Cooper relapse now. The whole time he's been a sober asshole. Now he comes in drunk after shucking a million oysters, after fighting with everything has gone wrong. That could go wrong has gone wrong. And now he comes in wasted into his arch nemesis's place, where he's surrounded by this modern equipment. So he takes a piece of plastic, puts it over his face, and tries to asphyxiate himself.
Yeah, but why did they have to make it so unintentionally hilarious?
It's because
problem.
It's just the delivery is so fucking comical.
It's so funny.
It's
his
ridiculous.
face when it's in the plastic thing is hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up in the restaurant and Reese makes him an omelet and they talk.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a scene. This is where this inherent contradiction comes in, where Reese is like, "We need people like Adam Jones because you lead us to new places." And I was like,
"No, the
fucking a week ago, this guy didn't know what a sous vide machine was.
Yeah,
okay,
come on.
Like he didn't know how to use a very like old piece of equipment.
Yeah.
And you're like, you got to lead us to new places. Like this guy refuses to not sear everything.
No.
You know,
No.
like yeah. So it's just like it's just
lead us to new places
yeah.
like courtrooms,
yeah,
lawsuits. He's the fucking worst.
Yeah. The Me Too movement.
What a fucking dick. And then of course they have Reese's character say the words, "You are better than me."
Yeah.
To Bradley
Of course
Cooper,
they
which
do, yeah.
absolutely sank my heart because that was the worst shit ever.
So they find out two important things, which are as close to a Deus Ex Machina as you can get in a film about cooking.
My God.
Firstly, the two men who came in, they weren't Michelin inspectors. Huzzah! And then Alicia Vikander pays off his debt. And he faces no consequences
There's no
for
consequences.
anything that happened to him.
No.
And I know I constantly harp on the fact that it's like, it's not very good criticism to be like, I wish a film was different.
Yep.
However, if I'm writing this movie and I'm not a talented person, it would be more interesting if they were Michelin inspectors and he just learned to not care very much.
Yeah.
Because there's always next year, motherfucker.
Which, like, he kind of over time does a little bit.
But he still gets the star at the end.
He gets the star, and he finds out way too quick that they
he
were
finds
not
out like
Michelin.
the next day, and the Michelin's guide takes like a year to make.
Hell.
Yeah,
It's
ridiculous.
There's no challenges for him. There's no growth.
No.
He's like, I guess if you stay an asshole long enough, you get your way.
the key scene of his fucking growth is that earlier he wouldn't eat family meal with the staff, which is incredibly insulting.
Classist.
And
Yep.
actually like no one would want to actually work for a guy who did that but then the absurd thing is that he tells Helene, he's like, yeah, I've worked in a kitchen since I was like 20. And I was like, and now you don't eat family meal with your staff? What kind of like satanic person are you that you
what happened?
Like, he's so ensconced in the tradition of cookery, and yet he doesn't do this thing that it's like, that's like what is, it's like so important to eat family meal.
Maddening.
Yeah.
Maddening. Like,
It's
there's no,
absurd.
they don't do any explaining of why he's like this, where his trauma comes from. If it's even, like, it doesn't matter. You can't empathize with this character. You only hate him.
And then he achieves everything.
And he gets everything.
And then basically the movie is, right as it fades to black, there's just a big middle finger on screen being like, fuck you for watching this film.
You should have been watching Chef or Boiling Point or The Bear.
If you're not about to go post on LinkedIn right now, you are not the audience for this movie. Yeah.
I am thrilled to announce I have 3 Michelin stars.
Yeah.
And it's due to perseverance, hating my family, being sexist.
Yeah. Oh, this movie rules. That's burnt, everybody. Fucking Finn. Finn with that shit.
I wanted so badly to like it.
I think I kind of said at the top, like I was like, I don't like not liking movies.
Yeah.
I kind of like not liking this movie because it's so ridiculous.
It's so
It's so
ridiculous.
insane and absurd. and there is like a sick kind of pleasure where it's just kind of like, oh man, like this should be a fucking it should be like a knockout, you know, it should be good.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's so bad.
No.
Not even okay, it's bad. It's not even like it's not even like The Eternals is just okay. This is just like, oh fuck this movie, man.
Yeah.
It sucks. Yeah.
But it's not boring. Not 1 second of it is boring.
It keeps
infuriating.
It's gripping because you're just kind of like, what? Like the whole time. Yeah.
What the fuck is happening?
Yeah, you're just kind of like, Moanda?
Incredible.
This is is besides weirdly connected. I think this is the worst movie we've done besides Waiting.
Besides Waiting,
Yeah.
yes,
I
my
think
God.
and they're both restaurant films.
Holy.
Yeah.
You know what, Hollywood, don't try it. Don't try it with too many big names, because maybe that is the problem.
I don't know.
All you need is one Jon Favreau who miraculously goes to bed with Sofia Vergara and possibly bags Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, he does.
Fuck
Hardcore
you.
bags.
Fuck
Scarlett
that.
Johansson, yeah.
Fuck off with that shit.
You know what though? You love to see it.
You do. You do.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
Because
This
he's
one,
not an asshole.
this one, the entire time you're just like, oh fuck, everyone is in love with this guy. Whereas in
Yeah.
Chef, you're just like, everyone loves that big teddy bear.
Infuriating.
Yeah.
Infuriating.
I love
For
that guy.
Burnt, I
I'd
guess.
go to bed with him.
Yeah. Stop it.
A little John on John action.
No. All right, I'm here for it.
I want some of
ship
that
it.
Lion King money.
He'd scoop you up like the big bear he is.
Oh, I would love
Throw
it.
you over his shoulder.
Fucking make me a grilled cheese sandwich, baby.
Oh, yeah. You would.
Anything else on this piece of shit?
I'm burnt out, baby.
No top five. I'm burnt out from the top five.
I'm
so-
burnt out from that. You know what? I was trying to think of like alternative names for this film that was like kitchen related top fives, and I got so angry.
Yeah.
I got so mad trying to think about it.
Sliced.
Cut.
Cut. Seared.
Seared.
Seared
Seared
probably
is
wasn't working,
better. Seared is better.
Yeah.
Chopped.
Diced.
Diced.
Yeah. There we go. We did it. Top five done.
Awful.
Don't worry. Next week we're gonna do a good movie. I don't want to give anything away. But we're gonna do a movie I fucking love.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I've already forgotten, so we will
It's all right.
refresh it now.
I'll tell you later.
Whisper it.
No.
Mouth.
I'll whisper something to you. Burnt sucks. Thank you for listening. I've been John.
Bye.
Well, do you have a name?
My name is Pri.
All right. See ya.
Oh shit.